movement is one of the biggest reasons for the divorce rate, because women have become so masculine. A woman gets in her masculine energy. A lot of times she'll be disrespectful to her husband. And men don't do well with disrespect. There's surveys that say that 80% of men say they would rather be alone and unloved than to be disrespected. And see, the feminist movement has taken it so far over the years to, it's not just equal rights anymore. Now it's men are being diminished and devalued and demoralized. What do we need men for? We don't need men. We can buy our own cars and we can vote. We can make our own money, run our own businesses. We can even have babies without men. And that makes men feel awful. A man doesn't feel he has anything to contribute to that woman's life. He's got to move on down the road.
Now, part of this I'm going to say is men's fault. It's a man's fault. And men must take accountability for this. Now, unfortunately, there are a lot of women who are going to not listen past the part where I just talk about the man's role in creating this situation himself. So, how is it a man's fault that women's liberation movement has taken on such a level of masculinity that it has devalued and emasculated men? It is men's fault because men didn't draw a line. Men didn't say, okay, this is, well, you are correct. You should be paid equal wages. You should have equal opportunity for every industry that is out there. If you are able to compete in that industry, you should be able to gain as much finances and position as a man should be able to. You women should be able to have their own bank accounts and buy their own homes, and should have access to IVF and things of that nature so that they can decide what to do with their bodies. Yes, men should stand on the side of women for those things. But especially in the last 20 to 30 years, it has become a sense of, if you were to say anything to a woman, if you were to try to lead or try to be a man in a woman's life, then you are somehow criticized to the point where you become canceled. Too many men are even afraid to stand up for what they think should be their role in society, should be their role in the household, should be their role in life, because of the fear of being canceled or being called toxic masculinity or anything of that nature. And we've allowed this divide to happen that has created a larger double standard when it comes to how a man functions in this society and in this world. That's a man's fault. You have to draw a line. You have to, for lack of a better term, put your foot down. Now, it is somewhat the woman's fault as well. You see, like the young lady said in this video, in the previous video, when a woman doesn't need a man for her finances, when she doesn't need a man for her safety, when she doesn't, because a woman can pull a trigger just like a man, when a woman doesn't need a man to have a family, to have children, I should say, when she doesn't need a man for all those things, it developed into a sense where the man should bow down to the woman. It was the mentality that the women's liberation movement has taken, that men should just give, be there for the woman, do whatever the woman tells them to do, never step on her toes, never critique her activities nor her character. And if he does, then he's toxic masculinity. He's trying to control her. But has not the reverse happened, where men are now relatively controlled by the societal norms that are becoming more and more prevalent as far as what a woman's standing is in community? One doesn't make anyone greater than the other is the problem, and that most people can't see. You see, just because the man may be the engine in the car, you still need the tires. You still need gas. You still need the driver, and you still, on a long trip, you still need the passenger. You still need all the other parts to make it function. You see, an engine alone can't get you down the street. Gas alone can't get you down the street. Tires alone can't get you down the street. You need all the components working together The problem is too many people are trying to be the engine. Too many people are trying to be the driver. Too many people are trying to be every aspect of the car. And hence, when you're trying to be everything, you end up being on the side of the road and being nothing. So the balance has to be struck to where the man can do what men do and the woman can do what the woman does, with each party feeling respected and each party feeling desired, needed, and wanted by the opposing party. When you have that situation of balance, then you have a glorious relationship, or the beginnings or a foundation for a glorious relationship. It is when one tries to supersede the other and reign in command and domination and be a totalitarian over the situation, that's when you start to have your problems. And most men would rather, I for one, I'm going to speak for myself, I would rather be respected than to be loved. Because without the respect, I cannot feel your love. I cannot appreciate your love. I can't even visually see or emotionally feel or logically think through the fact that you may love me if you don't respect me. If you constantly are bringing trouble and strife, trying to, as the old terms say, wear the pants all the time, then we can't have it. If I can't breathe, if I can't look, if I can't scroll, if I can't do anything without your permission, without your you having some type of anger fit, without you getting loud and emotional, without there being some disruption of the peace, we can't work together. No. You see, my wife is my greatest counselor. When I think through situations and problems, I don't normally go to another man first. I would go to my wife first, and we will have a discussion to what's the best format to which we can move this family into a more positive situation. So I listen to my wife. It doesn't always mean we're going to agree or even come to an agreement, but at some point, a decision has to be made. And I try to look for the most logical decision that will move the family in the most positive direction over the long term instead of the short term. And if that is not respected, the fact that I am not just unilaterally making decisions, that I come to you and seek your advice, and it is not respected, and even when we still are in disagreement, that we can't come to a mutual agree to disagree or come to a mutual agreement. But a decision has to be made, and someone has to make that decision. But when it's done in council and you come to the agreement as best you possibly can, then both parties should feel respected. And if it's something that a good leader knows who's best in thinking through or dealing with the situation. And in that situation, a good leader will say, you know what? She's better at this than me. Let me side with what she's saying. Her argument makes more sense. Let me side with what she is saying. But if that is not returned, that level of respect, then I'd rather be alone and figure it out by myself. And that is how the majority of men, and understand I'm saying men, not boys, how we think and how we are. I hope you find this information beneficial to you. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.